everybody, Scott from Lawrence Hypnotherapy here again, and thank you again for coming back to week 3 of how to cure super addicted clients if all they want to do is tantrum. Literally, that you're trying to help them, they're addicted, their life is not going the way they want it to go, and you're trying to help them, and all they're doing is basically just interfering with the work that you're doing. But you can fix that, because you need them to be on your team, you need to build rapport so that they feel that they trust you to, again, do those two things, to trust you and to cooperate with you. So again, the CALM acronym that we covered, the childish behavior, what it is that they present with, the agreement frame, where you show them that you understand where they're coming from, then the lesson, where you kind of relate to them, you tell them something that has a perspective shift, so they can understand what you've said in a way that's a little bit different from how they thought, but it's a nice story so they don't have to feel personally attacked by what you're telling them to do. And then you sum it all up with a moral for the story. And that's the CALM acronym, because you want to keep your customer, client, nice and calm. So the first one we're talking about this week is the not listening. They're saying to you look, you're just not listening to me, as in I've already told you that I'm different, I have special needs. Almost like what you might call the gluten intolerant style of clients. They're saying that I'm someone that I don't want you to help me in a way that's too structured, whatever it is that means to them. Or I don't want you to be too pushy, I don't want you to be too clinical, I don't want you to be too psychologist-y, or whatever it is that they say. They'll say I'm different, I don't want you to help me in the same way that I've been helped every other time. In their head, they've had some bad experiences, and you don't want to remind them of the bad experiences that they've currently had. But sometimes, even the people who used to try to help them, the previous experts, they were probably doing a good job, they just weren't winning the rapport game. So you may still need to use some of their tools, but you've got to win the rapport in order for them to trust you, and again, for them to trust and then cooperate with you. So they do the work with you, so they trust you, they go along the journey with you. Or they'll be now I want you to do it my way. And so that they'll turn up and say that instead of saying with the hypnotherapy or the coaching or the NLP session, whatever you're doing, instead of you being the expert because they've come to you because you know how to fix their addiction, they're saying, I want you to fix my addiction, but can you do it through my method as the client, my method that I'm bringing to you? And you're no, look, I just literally can't, because that's not how these things work. I'm the expert, I know how this stuff works. You're the client, you don't know how this stuff works. So it's really frustrating when your client acts that way. The best thing to do in this situation, we get to the don't react stuff because this is brilliant, but listen first. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you're just proving to them that you're actually hearing what they have to say. It doesn't matter if what they're saying is rubbish. Just let them say it. Whatever it is, let them get it out. Next, paraphrase it back. So what you're saying is that you want something that is not too structured, but something that still works. Because at that point, you could even give them a story by saying, well, even a seed, when you plant a seed, it's organic. Because what you're into, you don't want it to be too structured, you want it to be organic. But even a seed contains some structure. So you're okay with some structure, even if the world's made up of atoms. There's structure in those atoms. And so we're all structured in one way or another. And you're okay with some structure, but just rephrase and repeat. Rephrase, repeat, paraphrase, repeat. So you want to basically say back to them what they've said to you, just to prove that you listen. What this is, the lesson part, this is so important. This is kind of like a cup or a jug or a body of water. There's this hole here where the water can come out. This is say the client's telling you about their problem. And there's all this pressure in order for them to try to get it out. They want to tell it to you, it's burning them up inside. They want to get this information out. But you've got this tiny little, for all of that water, all of that liquid or all that emotion, all of that stuff they want to tell you, you've got this tiny little bit here where they're trying to get it out. And it might take a while for it to get from here until they've gone, oh, it feels good to tell that to someone, to admit, to confess, to just have someone to confide in, to get that thing out that's been bothering me. They've got this tiny little spout, this tiny little hole to get it out. And you as the expert, when they're kind of saying that, you're not listening, I already told you I'm different and I want you to do it my way, before you start fixing it, before you're telling them back what they should do, the first thing you've got to do is listen. So if you're trying to plug this thing up and they're trying to kind of get it out, there's going to be a war going on, if that makes sense. You don't want to encourage your clients to develop bad habits, of bad behaviors, of being negative. But this is not being negative, this is venting. Venting is when the pressure has built up so much that they need to get it out, or else they're not going to trust you, they're not going to cooperate with you, they're not going to feel that they're in a rapport with you. They need to know that you've proven that you are a listener. Let them get it out. Let them empty this. From there on, if you want them not to develop negative habits, you can then start teaching them to not keep putting more negativity in, but let them let it out. If, like, say, with the addiction, with, like, say, the cigarettes, with the ice, with the heroin, with the marijuana, with the gambling, with the smoking, whatever it is, let them tell you that, you know what, the cigarette's been like my best friend. Like, you know, at 3 a.m, I can wake up and have a cigarette without even having to have a conversation. Or, like, it's like this cigarette, like, you know, it's been my best friend for such a long period of time. That may be something they'll say to you. Yes, it's kind of negative, but let them say it at first. Not so much session 2, 3, or 4, and we'll talk about that. But at first, let them get it out. So the method that we use is the LISTEN acronym. Again, we love acronyms. They're just easy to remember ways to be able to deliver your information, to be able to help people. So LISTEN, the acronym. So life story, interests, success of the past, timeline, ethics, and name. So I'm going to go through what that means. But you remember, like, the you're not listening, and the cue is then the LISTEN acronym, the life story. When they're trying to get this stuff out, sometimes they want to tell you their life story. Let them get it out. Let them tell you. Let them tell you, like, when I was 5, this happened to me. When I was 15, this happened to me. When I was high school or just last week, whatever it was, this happened to me. The interest, the eye for interests. And this is what I'm into. These are the things that, you know, that excite me. These are the things that I'm passionate about. Because, like, we're creating movements. If they can talk, if you can encourage them to talk because you're listening, you can then, once they're moving, you can then direct them. It's like if in a car, if you're dry steering, they call it dry steering. If the car's not moving and then you turn the steering wheel, they call that dry steering because it goes crunch on the ground. Instead of, like, when you're moving on a highway, you know, like if you're doing 100, a little movement in the steering wheel, even if you don't have power steering, just a little bit of movement with the steering wheel creates a lot of steering because you're moving. So you're just changing the direction. So if you listen, you're creating movement, and then you can steer and direct that movement more easily if you can build a rapport by getting them to speak, because that's an advantage, that's a benefit in the sessions. The S, success of the past. Just tell me, like, just ask them questions. Just tell me, what has worked for you best in the past? Have you tried anything before? What happened? Rephrase. So what you're telling me is this, and then repeat. If that makes sense? Let them get it out, let them trust you, because the cure for the whole not listening, if you do the LISTEN acronym, they're going to be blown away by how well that they just have this feeling that, you know, it's like you and I are always the same person, that we just trust each other because no one's let me get this stuff out before. Everyone's like, stop being so negative. It's like, yeah, they shouldn't be negative. However, it's not time for that yet, especially if they're having the tantrum. Let them speak. Let them get it out. It'll help them to become, remember the CALM acronym, more calm if you let them speak. The next one. So the timeline, as in the future. Where do you see this going? Where would you like to be? What's in your way? How do you see, like with the addiction, how do you see with your plans? How do you see with your life? How do you feel about the next week ahead to come? How do you feel about the next 6 months or a year? How do you feel about the next New Year's, the next time you're at a party? Get them to talk. Now the ethics, this is the reason, like, you ask about their ethics and you don't say, like, tell me about your ethics. You ask the question in a different way. People value different things more important to different degrees. Some people value the truth. Some people value kindness. Some people value kindness more than truth. Some people value truth more than kindness. And if you're easily offended, I don't know what to do about that at the moment, but it's with the ugly baby example. Like, if you see, like, there's a mum and she's got this baby and she's like, isn't that the most beautiful baby that you've ever seen in your life? And you're like, it's not the most beautiful baby. It's kind of, it looks like, it's an ugly baby, basically. If you value kindness above truth, you will lie to that mum and you'll say, wow, what a cute, what a beautiful baby. If that makes sense. Because the ethics that people have, you don't know what it is in that person that they're using as the decision-making tool. So you want to find out. Ask them questions like, do you value more the truth? Do you value more kindness? Do you value more kind of like always stepping up? Do you value kind of like courage? As in, no matter what, there's no excuses, you just move ahead with it? Or do you value basically the kindness of the community where they just listen to you without judging? Like, do you value someone who doesn't judge you, but listens to you first? Because that's the stuff that's really going to make a difference in how well they trust you, so that they can trust and then cooperate with you. And then the last letter in the acronym, N for name. Yes, you already know their name. Yes, it's on their form. Yes, when they booked in with you, you found out what their name is. This is more about how do they want you to refer to them. Are they really, really proud because they're a mum and they keep telling you that they're a mum? And so their name in their head is their mum. And so that you can say to them, you don't call them mum, but you might say, as a mum, you're doing this. As a mum, you're finding that like you need a break. As a mum, or like if they keep telling you that they're an academic professional and they're really, really proud of it, what you do like with a rephrase. So as an academic professional, because that's the name they want to be referred to as, that to them, they've earned that name, if that makes sense. What do they want to be called? How do they want you to keep referring back to them? Alrighty, so the next one is that after they're not listening is this isn't what I expected. And it's really weird how this can play out. Because when they just first say, that's not what I expected, for starters, we don't know what they're talking about. This isn't what I expected. This hypnotherapy session, this coaching session, this NLP session, whatever it is, the carpet's the wrong color, your hair's the wrong style, I don't know what it is. But like when they say, this isn't what I expected, what are you talking about? So this is like, you're gonna ask. If they say like, what are you talking about? Like, well, I expected there to be less talking. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm a coach, I use my mouth. It's like, which other thing did you think there'd be more clapping? I don't know. But that's the thing, it's like that when they say, this isn't what I expected, whether they're asking for a refund or whether they're complaining about the service or they think that you're not the one who can help them with addiction, this is like, it's a complaint, but it's like, I thought that, there would be less talking in this. It's really important to start to find out, like, well, what do you mean? What do you expect? What is it that you want? Not so much ask what do you expect, but what do you mean? Just ask that. I thought there'd be more trance. I thought there'd be more hypnosis work. I didn't know that, up front, that there'd be this chit chat up front. Because what we found, or what I found at least, after seeing over 3,000 clients and helping them to get off addiction, is that if you just get them into the room and put them in the hypnotherapy chair and just tell them to close their eyes and say, right, cool, now go into trance, and then you start doing the hypnotherapy, it doesn't work as well as if there's, except for like, unless there's some counseling up front, when you explain the process to them, and then after you've explained the process to them and done the counseling, then you get them into the hypnotherapy chair, then you do the actual trance work. That's the stuff that really works. But when they say they thought there'd be more trance, what's with this sort of talk up front? Why are you explaining stuff to me? Is it like, it sounds almost like, you're just like giving me the tools to go and solve my own addiction. You're meant to solve my addiction. It's really hard. Like when people ask you that, it's like, why aren't we just like getting straight into the hypnosis? What's with all this? Why are you talking to me? Why are you just like why are you just explaining things to me in diagrams? So that can be something that comes up. Another one is like, I thought that this would feel different. Or like, I don't feel hypnotized. Or, oh, I still feel addicted. Or if they don't know what they expected, they still blame you. So you need to be able to explain to them up front. It's a good thing to basically preempt the issue by giving a good explanation up front about what will actually happen. Like one thing that we like to say in the sessions is like, there's a wake, there's a sleep, and in between there's like this daydream state. And that's where you're going to be at. Like the daydream state, the way we like to explain it, is that let's say you've been watching TV for 20 minutes, but you have no idea what's going on the TV because your brain was off thinking about something else. Thinking about like, when you're going to pick the kids up, or thinking about like what's next on your list, or what are you having for dinner, or what's the next thing that's going to occur in your life. Trance is very much like when your brain's wandered off instead of listening to what was being said. So you give an explanation by going, awake, asleep, and that's the daydream state. Or that, like another way I like to explain it is that if you ever like kind of looked at your phone and there's the time, but after you finish looking at the time, because like you wanted to look at the time, you still don't know what the time is. It's like you made eye contact, but you didn't make brain contact with the eye, with the time, because you were again daydreaming, thinking about something else instead of making brain contact with like, the eye saw the time, but the brain didn't. And so that is something that we use as an explanation to tell people what trance is like. So that when they say to you, like, I thought it would feel different, they need to have an understanding about, well, what's the trance going to feel like? Am I going to levitate out of my chair? Am I going to hallucinate blue or yellow or some other color? So they might say that to you. Or I thought that this would be easier. Like, this isn't what I expected because I thought, like, this sounds like you're just asking me to use willpower. Or from the last session, it just feels like I'm just trying to use willpower to get off the addiction. And I thought that you were just going to hypnotize me and I would just like feel cured. So it's not that that's not true. It's not that you don't just cure them, but the more resistant they are, the less likely it is that you actually can cure them, because the only way you can do it, besides doing the steps that actually work to help them to build new brain pathways in the brain so they can have a life of the ABCD, of the achievement, the breathing space or break, the connection, and the discovery, outside of addiction, the only way you can do it, for them to feel that it's easier, to build those new pathways, you need these two things. You need their trust and you need the cooperation. So if you don't get their trust and cooperation, if you don't explain the tools, if you don't have the counseling session, if they don't allow you to explain some stuff to them, you're then not going to be able to do the hypnosis or the trance work or whatever it is to be able to cure them, because they weren't on your team, if that makes sense. So just ask them, what do you mean? And so this is what we do. We train our clients to realize, I don't know if you've heard of this particular Zen quote, that it could be something good or it could be something bad. So that if they've got an expectation, they're basically saying, this is not what I expected. So there's this story that we'd like to talk about where basically there's this guy who has a horse, and the guy also has a son, and the son would help the dad basically with the farm. And so with the actual farming, what would happen is that there was the horse, the son would use the horse to help kind of basically lay the tracks in the ground, where they would plant the seeds. The dad wasn't all that fit and healthy himself, so he kind of needed his son. In order for them to eat, needed his son to help with the farm and to help harvest. But then the horse ran away. And the horse was part of what was happening, when the son was basically relying on the horse to help move a lot of the heavy things that he had to carry on the farm ground, and also to transport him, to get him on and off the farm more quickly, because it's a big farm. That the son was really relying on the horse, and the dad was relying on the son and the horse to be able to eat, to be able to use that horse, and that's the only wealth they seem to have. And the horse ran away. So they're down to nothing now besides their farm. They had a horse and a farm, and now they have just a farm, which they can't seem to work because they just don't have the horse. And so what happened, that the village people came up to the dad and said, we heard about your loss. I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. And so the dad's like, well, it could be something good, or it could be something bad. We just don't know yet. We'll find out, we'll see. And then the next thing that happened is that the horse comes back, but it brings with it 5 other almost prize-winning horses as well, wild ones from the bush. And as they come in, their wealth has gone from 1 horse to no horses to these 5 new ones on the older. 6 horses now. We're like, wow, all the village people come up to the dad, thinking about with the farm, imagine how much more food you're going to be having, you're going to be able to sell it to the rest of the village. It's going to be amazing. You must be so happy to have these 6 horses. And the dad says basically, again, it could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. He neutralizes it because we don't know yet how things are going to turn out. The same as when your client's like, this is not what I expected. Yeah, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. We tell this story to help the client to chill out, so it helps us to be able to get them to trust us and to cooperate by telling the story. The next part is that the horse, one of the other horses that's a little bit wild, a little bit kind of young and kind of a little bit of a go-getter. The son goes out and rides it, falls off and breaks his leg. Now, the son cannot work on the farm. They've got these 6 horses, which is great, but the dad's son has a broken leg and cannot work on the farm. It's the village people come you're going to starve to death now. This is terrible. I'm so sorry to hear about the bad news that this horse that's so wild has broken your son's leg. You must be devastated. And the dad again says the same thing. Well, could be something good, or it could be something bad. I don't know yet. Let's see. Let's see how it turns out. And then this emperor, or these 2 competing warlords, that would basically then come into these villages, and they would take the eldest, or they would take the healthiest, or they would take the sons and take them off to war. And a lot of these sons would die in battle because they were basically just getting captured by these warlords. And so when the emperor comes in to basically start collecting, all of the healthy young men who could walk were taken to war against their will. But the dad's son wasn't taken because his leg was broken. He couldn't walk, and so the warlord just left him alone. And then the village people came again and said to the son, said to the dad, you must be so happy that your son was spared, that everyone else's son was taken, but you get to have your son. And again, the dad says, well, it could be something good, or it could be something bad. We don't know. Let's see. Because the future is long. We don't know how things are going to turn out. So when somebody says that this is not what I expected, I thought it'd be less talking, I thought it'd be more trance, I thought that I would feel different, I thought this would be easier. Well, what do you mean? Because it could be something good, or it could be something bad. And that's why we have this strategy, this system strategy, that when we run the sessions, we have these 6 parts. There's the first half that we describe as the SYS of system. That's the counselling stuff. The socialise, play for 5 to 10 minutes, around 2 to 5 minutes, get to know them, chit chat, talk about the footy, talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Talk about, did you have a long drive here? How are you? How's your week been? The Y for yearn is in what are you here for? What result do you want to get? What would that look like by the end? Then the S for strategy, where you talk them through what's going to happen next, and that's the counselling part. Then down here, the TEM in system, the trance, the explore, and the mobilise. The trance is when you actually put them under. The explore is when you then start to treat them for the addiction and help to make build those new brain pathways. The ABCD of the new achievement stuff, the new breaks or breathing space stuff. The C for connection, the new ways that they can connect with the community. The D for different or distinction, where they get to basically find new ways to bring variety or rewards into their life. And then the M for mobilise, where you wake them up, potentially take the money, book in the next session, and see them out until the next client comes, until they're coming in. So that's the system that we talk about, that we cover more in our 6-figure track course. So that's basically, if you have a system for how you run the session, you're going to end up with a lot less of, that's not what I expected. Yet it still can come up. And it's important to follow it with, what do you mean? Tell a story that neutralizes them. Yeah, it could be something good, or it could be something bad. Have a system, if that makes sense. And then the last one for this course, this just isn't working. So this is like one of the most almost tantrum-y statements or sentences, especially when they get really upset with you, like when they're really kind of on edge. Not really necessarily to physically attack, because we covered physical abuse and what to do, end session. But when they're just saying, look, it's not working, and they're like going, either I want my money back, or I'm going to tell people you're not doing well, whatever it is. Most people aren't like that, don't worry. But the ones who are, you need to be able to treat them in a way that's going to recover the session. So it could be, it's not working because I'm still smoking, I'm still feeling the cravings. I walked out of here last week and I had a craving, right? Or it feels like, I'm not smoking, or I'm not having the marijuana, or I'm having the ice, I'm not having the heroin, but it kind of feels like it's just my own willpower. It feels like that you didn't help me, so it's not working. Even though they got their result, they'd be like, oh, it's not working because it still feels really hard. Or, I fought with my partner because cigarettes for me, or marijuana for me, or alcohol for me, it calms me down from my stressful job. And so with my partner, she basically said to me, you know what, you're a monster, go outside and have a cigarette. I don't care if you're quitting, just go outside and have a cigarette, right? Because they think that somehow the cigarette itself, or the alcohol itself, or the whatever it is they're taking themselves, is the thing that's going to create the calm, instead of creating like a new brain pathway for a new method of calm. They think that that's going to be the thing that actually creates the calm for them. So I fought with my partner, that's why I relapsed. Or I got angry at home, became the Hulk, became the Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde. The first thing to do when someone says it's not working for any of those reasons, don't react. You need to stay with the calm. You need to stay calm first. You need to show that you're in control. You need to show that you're not affected, because your response here can do more damage than the problem itself. Again, they're testing you. So like with these videos, like what we basically are talking about is that you need to show them that they can trust you to help them. If you're scared, they're scared. If you're afraid, they're afraid. If you don't know what's going on, they don't know what's going on. So if they're tantruming, they're looking for strength, not weakness. Don't react. Don't panic. Don't let it affect you. Listen. Talk to them. Have a conversation. Ask them questions. Don't panic. Don't react. It's a superpower, not reacting, because your response is what's going to rescue this. So this is something that we really use, like just measurement in general. This is like a picture of, let's say that there's like the ruler, or there's the ruler tape, or whatever it is, to find out how well is the child growing. So there's like the kid, as they get taller and taller. This is evidence. So let's say that you put the measure, or the tape measure there against the wall, and it's showing the kid used to be this high, and now the kid's this high, and now the kid's this high. So if they kind of go like, I'm not growing, I'm still a little kid, you're like, well, look at last year, look at how tall you were. This year, look, you've grown a foot. And then the next year, look, you've grown 1.5 feet. You're growing. There's the evidence right there. There's the mark. You can see the difference. So again, like with the don't react, if they're saying it's not working, you still need to show them some evidence. So like if you're removing pain, if you're helping them with addiction, this is why you need to quantify these things. Like if they go, oh, I'm down from 45 cigarettes every day to 7, it's not working. You're like, whoa, what's quick maths? Okay, so 38 less per day. So it's like that 45 every single day to kind of easily doing 7, but I'm finding it really difficult to do 0. That's progress. You've got to show them the progress. They're like, wow, we got rid of 38 per day last week. We just have to remove 7 more. That's it. Calms them down. When you prove that there's progress, it calms them down. So that's why the SYSTEM acronym, we use it again here in what we call the 36-box plan. And this is where, again, like with the socialize, the yearn, the strategy, the trance, the explore, the mobilize, we do that through the session. And again, like it's what we teach in the 6-figure track program. The 36-box system is when you have 6 boxes that way, then 6 boxes down, and then it creates 36 boxes. So the X and Y coordinates basically. 6 by 6 creates the 36. So you've got the 6 sessions and the 6 parts of each session. So what you find is like you first meet them right here. So S for socialize, session 1. G'day, how are you? Nice to meet you. Y for yearn, session 1. What do you want? What are you here for? What would that look like at the end? The strategy, you explain what's going to happen over the next 6 sessions. The T for trance, you do it. The explore, you treat them, you mobilize, you book in the next session. They see you again in a week. And then you get some feedback. Session 2 is always different from session 1. It's not nice to meet you. You've met them already. So they come, they see you. G'day, how have you been since last week? The Y for yearn, this is where you get feedback. What was last week like? If that makes sense. And they're also in session 2, they're telling you things they weren't comfortable telling you in session 1. You've got to listen for those things. Quantify it. How have you gone? How many cigarettes did you have the week before? Because you've already got it in the form. But how many do you usually have? And how many did you have this week? Write it down. Write it down, record it. Because you can use this as evidence, like we were showing, as the kid's getting taller, the client's getting less addicted. But it's not obvious because in their head, if they're having a panic, and you've got to not react, if they're having a panic, they're not always aware, they're not always focused on their progress. So that's why you need a system to prove the progress to them. So again, I hope you've loved this course as much as we've loved teaching it. It's something that we're really blessed to do. So with my brother Philip, who's always behind the camera, always delivering the webpage stuff for you, like we teach the therapy and helping you to see your client better. And also the business stuff is in basically how to attract clients. We love teaching these things because we're so good at it now that we're really blessed to be able to have you guys to be able to join us with these. And so that there's, in the future, look out for our ads for new programs. But thank you again so much. There's an ebook in this course that's coming in about a week. And I want you to look out for it as well because it's part of this course, it's included, but it's coming out in about a week. And so there'll be the link, which will take you through all 9 of those issues through the Calm agreements and the 9 stories that we like to deliver. So thank you again. I really mean it. Thank you again for being a part of this course. We'll see you on the next one.